Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What? My slideshow disappeared. Where'd it go?
Bagels? That sounds good right now. No, like a raisin bagel with strawberry cream cheese. Ew! What
Hmm.
are you talking about?
Uh-oh. My slideshow disappeared. Hold on. It's not in my folder.
Do you know the muffin? Who lives on Drury Lane? Is it? Bean bun? Bean bun. That's the Muffin Man? Bean bun. Whoa. I was like, what happened? How did it get more dark?
What is going on? Is that PowerPoint I made with like the plyometrics, speed and agility and all that we did last time? It's not here anymore. Hmm. Hmm.
Ooh. You can translate on iPhone. I showed Alex how I talk to my cleaning lady. Translate, please. It's good.
I have to go back to the original.
Where I enabled it? When? Like it's been like 2 weeks ago now. It should have been like a few days later, 2-3 days later. It's annoying because that's how we can do the text messages for.
Straight. Yeah.
I looked it up and it said it should be like 2-3 days.
Delete it off my computer.
Just send them an email. Messaging you?
I don't know why it's not turning.
Team up? Where? Oh yeah. Are you asking him? Okay, thank you. It was like two weeks ago. I can be your friend. You can be my friend. I think that's how it goes. Rachel, Miss Rachel, whatever.
See, that turns. Oh my goodness.
Appointment cleaning for cleaning estimate for boxing studio. We're not a boxing studio.
All right, let's try it this way. Good old technology. Oh, please try again later. Oh my goodness.
Did you guys get my link in the chat?
Technical difficulties.
Cool. So everyone that said that they were going to be watching is not. This week,
Yeah, it's last week.
this Thursday.
Good.
We usually do the like 8, 9 a.m. class.
Oh my goodness.
We usually do, and then we do Saturday closed, and then we'll do the same thing for Christmas, and then same thing for New Year's. And I think it's at the same days, so it's like Thursday is the main day, and then Friday half day, and then Saturday off. People are just gonna have to go on walks. Be self-sufficient.
Preview. Download. I don't get it. Same forever. I have to freestyle it.
I do. There's that one bra that I can't wear in public ever again. No, it's nothing came out, but it's just very, very sexual. Nobody said anything to me. They were just like, "Whoa, your boobs!" Like, that's all. That's all the attention. Huh? Yeah, but I don't know who's watching, but they're listening to me talking about my boobs. I could be your friend.
Okay. I found it.
Yay.
Oh boy. It's just going to be a pain because it's not on my computer anymore. So, oh boy, no. Okay. So it's doing like conditioning and recovering. It's like a good thought is like you can only adapt as quickly as you can recover. It's like a quick way to think about it. The importance of recovery. It's like if you're not sleeping well, eating well, all the training you're doing. We kind of talked about that before. Not to say it's useless, but you're not going to get as much out of it. And then I think part of this is going to be how conditioning, one on just like metabolic side, but then also how conditioning supports recovery. So there's different aspects to recovery. Like there's recovery from your workouts, like I was just alluding to, but then there's also recovery such as like between sets. In the research right now in exercise science, all that, this is kind of the new focal point. If you think about it, like they've been researching exercise for a long time. So now it's about, we know enough about training methods. Now it's like, how do we implement training methods more often? So basically, it's like, well, if I could do a workout every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, how can I do more of those workouts more often and get more benefits from the training? It's through recovery. So that's where, so I've seen all the fads and stuff on Instagram too, with all like fasting, saunas, cold plunging, compression, massage guns. Like that's the new trend, because that's also where the new focal point's at, is if we can feel better, then we can do more training. So like I was saying, you can do recovery capacity between sets. That's one way it helps. But also conditioning in general is more for just like vascular health, like general cardio. A lot of people, a lot of clients who maybe aren't prone to fitness or this stuff will say like, oh, I do. Like one of my clients still says it, even though I try to tell him otherwise, George. But I've been working with him for 5 years. He's like, oh yeah, I got to do my cardio to burn the fat. And it's like, yes and no. Cardio is more for like your vascular health, heart and brain health. Cardio itself doesn't really improve fat loss more than strength training. In fact, research now shows like strength training is actually better for fat loss, and that's due to what's called like the afterburn, as people would call it, or EPOC. Basically, because the intensity of strength training is higher, your body's recovery time after that session, the elevated caloric expenditure will last longer, versus like if you're working in cardio 60-70%, you're just running for 30 minutes, your body will recover from that within 24 hours. So your caloric expenditure will go back to normal. But with strength training, your caloric expenditure could be elevated for up to 48 to 72 hours. So that's part of the reason why strength training is actually more beneficial for fat loss. In general, though, like why cardio can help is like if you're strength training and you're eating well and you're in a deficit and you're still not seeing weight loss, cardio can help just through more caloric expenditure. So it's not like it has any unique effects in fat burning. Yes, if you're in like that aerobic zone, you're burning fat while you're doing cardio. So that's where people get the idea that it burns fat. But as your body's smart. So basically, whatever energy you deplete in training, your body, once you eat, is going to restore that energy. So basically, the more fat you burn, the better your body is at rebuilding that fat or restoring fat, like the energy. Not like it's like, oh, I'm going to do cardio and then I'm going to put on fat afterwards because I ate. It's just the stores, the energy stores. So basically what I'm saying is the more fat you oxidize, whether it be through a deficit or eating style or cardio, the more your body's going to store that fat, because that's the energy you're using. It's like you have a choice between a gas car and an electric car. And if you use up all your electricity in your electric car, you're going to go plug it back in. Versus if you had a gas car and you're using gas. So it's just your fuel choice, is basically the idea there. And okay, that is true. So the next point, not to negate everything I said, but it does support fat loss in the sense that cardio helps your body build more mitochondria. And mitochondria is the main place where you're burning your fat when you're breaking it down for energy. So in that sense, you will be able to burn more fat. But once again, the laws of thermodynamics remain. So if you're not in a deficit, you're not going to lose fat. Your body's just going to use more fat for energy than it would carbs. And yeah, so combined with better heart health, better brain health, and just more efficiency of your heart function, you will be able to improve your longevity. So just touching on the energy systems again as a reminder. 3 energy systems: cardio, general cardio, longer distance stuff that you're going to be mostly here. Then in sports, or if you have it in your training, like HIIT cycles and stuff like that, HIIT, Tabata, those are going to be more like the phosphagen glycolytic systems. So those are what I was mentioning last week, is what I consider more metabolic conditioning. Conditioning is a general term. Metabolic conditioning means you're trying to condition one of these energy systems. So that's kind of the purpose and reminder. So again, high intensity, you can think like sprints, jumps, short 10-minute cycles, like you hop on the bike for 10 seconds, rest for 20 seconds, and then you just keep working it, versus like a longer duration, like a 10-set circuit, or a long distance run going on a hike. Oh, and then it kind of explains that there. 100-meter sprints, Olympic lifts, vertical jumps, football plays, stuff like that. So most sports are going to be in the phosphagen system, and then like your longer distance or your medium distance stuff. Boxing is a good example where the round lasts like 2 to 3 minutes. And then 400-meter run, hit intervals, like I mentioned, and then oxidative, that's your distance running, longer distance sports, soccer, stuff like that. So basically, I think I touched on it last time too, is whatever your sport is, like let's say you have a runner and they do a lot of running, their oxidative system is generally going to be pretty good. So they're going to want to train that oxidative system and then include the aerobic closer to their thing, and then vice versa for more of an oxidative athlete. So like baseball, like I was saying, we start up in February. So starting this month, we're going to start getting into more like they've been getting full rest during their sprints. So that way they can get max effort due to full recovery. Now we're going to start doing metabolic conditioning where instead of getting like a minute rest between sprints, we're going to cut it down to 30 seconds. And then every week we're going to take off 5 seconds and then go down to about 20 to 25 seconds between sprints. So we're no longer looking at what's the fastest you can run this sprint. We're now looking at how quickly can you recover between sprints and maintain your top end speed, because that'll be a little bit more sport specific for these athletes. And that's kind of what it's saying there, is match the modality with their goals or their sport. Aerobic versus anaerobic. So aerobic, that's that oxidative, like mentioned up front, it's going to increase the number of mitochondria. That's what mitochondrial density means. And then function just relates to, you're going to be using more of that beta oxidation. So that goes back to like week 2 or whenever we did bioenergetics and we were talking about the step-by-step pathway from phosphagen through the glycolytic through oxidative. You're just going to get better at utilizing that system. Enhanced capillarization, fancy phrase for saying you're just going to grow more blood vessels, your ability to exchange gases, move blood around, transfer nutrients is going to improve. And then cardiac output and stroke volume. So stroke volume, as a reminder, is just how much blood your heart pumps out per beat. So that's part of the reason why runners have low heart rates, is their heart ejects more blood per beat, so they need to beat less often. So that's another way to monitor improvement in clients, is like if you see their resting heart rate go down, they're getting healthier because their heart's getting more efficient and stronger. And then greater oxygen utilization, that's largely because of more mitochondria, which need oxygen, and more blood vessels, which give those mitochondria oxygen. So that goes back to, if you guys remember, ever toyed with VO2 maxes and VO2 testing. Cardio athletes, Olympic athletes, basically and that's a marker of health. The higher your VO2, the healthier you're going to be, because basically it means your body's better at using oxygen. Okay, and then anaerobic. That just goes back to the ability to clear lactate. And like we talked about, lactate isn't necessarily a bad thing because it can be sent to the liver, turned back into sugar, and used for more energy. More glycolytic enzymes, which just means you can break down sugar faster. You can run through glycolysis faster. And then your body stores more phosphocreatine. That can also be done through creatine supplementation, like we talked about. So that's where the application of creatine is helpful for recovery. It ties in with the recovery between sets concept. Because you have more phosphocreatine, your body's going to be able to, and it's more abundant, you're going to restore it faster. So you're going to need to recover less between sets. So in the same training hour, you can get more work done, which leads to more adaptation, and therefore comes how creatine can help improve strength and muscle. And then neuromuscular recruitment. Sprints and things like that will help your body's ability. Like that's why, like some of my golfers, like, why are we sprinting? We don't sprint in our sport. And it's like, well, because the bout of sprinting is speed. It improves your body's nervous system to move quickly. So that's kind of what I tell them is, if you want to swing fast, you got to be able to move fast. So we want to work on sprints, even if you don't necessarily have sprints in your sport. And then this goes back to, I think, Des, you asked like why aerobic, and then I think it was you. Aerobic is just the base for your recovery. It's how quickly can you recover, hence the aerobic base. You start there. Then once you get that, then you start working the way up the pyramid and then get to the high intensity stuff at the end. Short burst. So, okay. So basically, if we looked at like that chart or the periodization plan we were making for Marco, it's like we had those four main stages, four main blocks. You could do like an aerobic block, aerobic power, which is more moderate intensity, or you just keep the base along the whole way, and that's just what they do on like their off days. Like if we're training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they hop on those Tuesday, Thursday, and then you go through those four. You do like shorter intensity, hop on the bike for 3 to 8 minutes at the end of your workout. Then you go into like lactate threshold stuff, which is just kind of working a little bit harder, maybe reducing rest if there was rest. Then you get into more endurance stuff, which is going to be like your HIIT cycles, and then high intensity power. That's going to be your sprints, your jumps. Okay, so let's see if AI got these cardio myths right. The origin of the myth: cardio kills gains. Ooh, okay, I like this one. So another one is people will say like, oh, I don't want to do cardio because it's going to mitigate my like muscle mass. There is truth to that. Like there is some truth to it. Like if you looked at a soccer player versus a football player, they have very different builds and what we call phenotypes. They look different because what they're training for is different. So in that sense, cardio can limit the total amount of muscle you put on compared to strength, because if you're spending most of your time on the cardio side versus the strength side, you're obviously going to build more cardio benefits than you will strength benefits. So there is some truth to it, but that said, is if you're training for muscle, you want to gain muscle, you're lifting weights 3 to 4 days a week, you're eating high protein, and you want to do cardio 2-3 days a week, it's not going to kill you. It's actually going to help you, like we talked about, under the recovery side. And like a cool example of that is when I was an undergrad in our exercise science department, we had a set of twins they were identical twins, but one was a football player, one was a soccer player. They looked completely different other than their face, but their builds were completely different because one was a linebacker in football, one was a forward in soccer. One skinny guy, one big, strong guy. Like I want to say they were about 100 pounds different in size. So let's see what this says. Stems from early interference studies on Yeah, so that's kind of what that first line says. Their context matters. That's basically what I was saying there. Is the context, how they train matters. But basically, low to moderate intensity training, zone 2, if you want to call it that, 60 to 70% heart rate max. That improves recovery between strength sessions. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So it's not necessarily going to kill your gains. So you should definitely be doing cardio. And then, like I said, you just want to separate them. Just put, like I said, if you're working out Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 4-day split, do cardio on Wednesday, do cardio on Saturday, and then go for like a long distance walk Sunday. And then there you get your routine. And then you get the recovery benefits without interfering with your strength gains. Another one too, a lot of people ask, like, should I do my cardio before my workout as a warm up or after my workout as a cool down? Like which order? It's your goals. If you want to improve the cardio time, do it first. But in general, if somebody asks, hey, I just want to go to the gym, I want to do my lifting and my cardio while I'm there, I usually tell people to do your cardio after strength. Okay. No. Strategic aerobic work enhances recovery capacity, work capacity, and general health markers, all of which support long-term strength development. The key is proper programming, not elimination. So a nice summary of what I was saying there in a more long-winded way. So heart rate training, heart rate zones. So I don't know if you guys have seen zone 2, zone 1, or like they have like like orange theory. You got to stay in the orange zone, or on the treadmill, they have the chart with the different colors. It's all just relative to your heart rate. In general, most people, like if you're trying to do cardio, you want to be like zone 2, zone 3, somewhere 60 to 80% of your heart rate max. So for most people, that'll be like 120 to 140 beats per minute. If you wanted to have like, where should my heart rate be? And then in a cardio session, and then in training, this is like if you have a heart rate strap on and you're training somebody, you'll see like, well, they're lifting, their heart rate could get up to 140, 160, 180. And then they're like, how long should I rest? I usually tell people until your heart rate gets back down to about 120. And then that's a cool way to observe and see adaptation is if you're actually tracking that in a session by session, week by week, you should see that getting faster. Their ability to recover gets faster. So actually, my client Nick, he has like that Apple Watch or whatever that monitors his heart rate. And he was like, yeah, I'm just pretty winded after some of these sets. And I'm like, well, because you haven't done high intensity lifting in a while. So I was like, let's look at your heart rate and get it down to 120. And then after a couple weeks, it would take him like 2 to 3 minutes at least to get back to 120, sometimes 4 to 5. And then it would be like a minute or two. He was back at 120. So he's able to get to that next set sooner. So we're able to get more done in the same hour. So that's another way, like if you want to build confidence within your clients that what they're doing is working, even though they might not see it in their body yet. If their heart rate's getting better, their resting heart rate, they're recovering faster between sets, that's another marker of improvement. And henceforth why conditioning is important for strength training. And then, the zone 5, zone 4, those are like your HIIT training, your maximum effort sprints. And then sometimes people have like super max, but not generally. And if you don't know, heart rate max, you can do age predicted, which is just 220 minus your age. That'll give you a good estimate. And then you just multiply that by the percent to get a range for your client if you wanted to. Yeah. Okay. So the recovery zone. So zone 2. So this is like the one like I would probably do like between training days. So like that, if we're using that 4-day split concept, this would probably be where I would be at. Either post-workout or like that Sunday walk. So like after your training session, just go for like a light walk, light jog, recovery style, or put it on your Sunday. And you're just trying to improve your base, keep that up so you can recover. Then zone 3 would probably be something I would do either as a harder training session on a Wednesday or Saturday, or if you wanted to do a shorter session after your strength training. Because the intensity is a little bit higher. Okay. So, trains lactate, speed endurance, sport specific. And then basically the concept with this too is the higher the intensity, the more time between training. So if you are doing sprints, high intensity stuff, ideally you want to give yourself 48 to 72 hours. So like with the sport athletes I do, like we do our sprints on like Monday and Wednesday. And then we'll do like Monday will be like a linear day, Wednesday will be a lateral day, and then Friday, if we have time for it, we'll just be more an aerobic base day. And then they get like a whole kind of week before we do any more sprints again. And then this is just kind of giving you conditioning methods. So there's the just traditional cardio, which is kind of cardio. I don't know where that came from. I'm not Southern at all. That came out of nowhere. Side question. So
when it comes to cardio, right? So for example, I just relate to when I've done long distance runs, I can hold a conversation.
Yeah.
But my heart rate's still pretty high. Like it's still like at 160.
160? Yeah. And you're still able to stay conversational?
Yeah, and I'm good. And I can hold that for a long period of time.
But you were a soccer player, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say for you, that's why you're able to probably do that, is because you're more accustomed to it. So you're more accustomed to the higher intensity. So that's another benefit with cardio training is it can raise your heart rate max. In other words, because your body's more efficient, it can push itself harder and still feel it like at a relative intensity that's for like somebody else, like 160 wouldn't be conversational for probably the average person. But the more trained you are, the more you're going to be able to adapt to higher intensities, and so therefore your ceiling's higher. So that's why for you, 160 might still be conversational, but for most people, 160 are probably like, okay, hold on, I can listen to you, or I might just have to take a few breaths between words or something like that. They might not be able to carry a conversation. So I would probably say that's why.
So I'm elite.
Yeah.
I can do the same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so traditional cardio, like zone 2, zone 3, that's kind of like conversational zone. Basically, you should be able to still talk, but then once it's like, okay, I got to lock in a little bit more, that's when you're usually above 80%. And we could see if my math was right on his. So if we did calculator. So like, let's say, I'll do my age. So 220 cardio. 190 is my max age predicted, and I multiplied it by 0.8. That'd be 152. So 80% of my age predicted heart rate max would be 152, and you're a little bit older than me. So that means your age predicted 80%, which is the borderline with.
You're a little bit older than him.
Yeah. No, I said you're a little bit older than me. I didn't mean in a bad way. I'm just saying that.
By like at least 15,
I'm
20
giving you a
years.
compliment. Is that 160 for me would be like 85% of my max heart rate, which would be in the zone 4 category, which is like higher, moderate to high intensity. So the fact that you're able to have a conversational exercise at intensity that should not be speaks to your cardiovascular efficiency.
But you're still old.
Then circuit training is just a combination of strength and cardio, where basically it's like, okay, do all this stuff, and then you have 30 seconds to rest, do it again.
Sorry, we can't hear you because you don't have the microphone.
And then I don't know how many more slides there are. Let me see. Just on this, when I was in grad school, we had to do debates, like little debates in one of our classes, and you got to like draw it out of a hat. And my group, I got debating why fasted cardio is good, and then the other side had to debate why fed cardio is better. So we had to get into a debate and provide literature and research.
What was your argument?
So I won the debate. Now, but it depends. It's all about cherry picking in debates and putting the research together. So the angle I took was in the process of training. In an individual bout, fed cardio is always going to be better. Like if you want to work on running longer, because you're going to have more energy. But my argument was more about the adaptation to fasted cardio in the long run, especially if you're in a super endurance or endurance athlete. So if you think like running a marathon, by the time you're done with the marathon, your energy stores are depleted. So in other words, it's analogous to a fasted state running on that. So in the training session, one of the arguments I made was that it will help simulate the effects of being at a near end of a long distance race. So you can deplete yourself through the diet, so you can train your body mentally and physically to withstand the stress and strain of running on nothing. And instead of saying, okay, well, because I'm fed to get to that depleted state, I have to run a marathon, it might be better, well, just don't eat overnight, don't eat in the morning, and then run 5 miles instead of 25 miles. So that was one angle. And then another angle was that one of the adaptations to fasted cardio is because your body is training fasted, it has less energy. It actually enhances your body's ability to store more glycogen. So when you're done with that session and you feed yourself, you're going to store more of that energy. And it's going to go into glycogen because your body's like, well, I had to do all this cardio fasted. I didn't like that. Now I'm getting food, so I'm going to store more of that food. In the instance that we have to do that again and you don't eat before, I'm going to have more stored already. So I did pull a research study that looked at that. They had two separate groups. They had one group who went into a cardio session fasted, one group that went into a cardio session fed, and then after the session, they both ate the same meals. The group, during the training sessions, the group who was fed always performed better, but there was a test, a competition before and after a race. After 3 months of training like that, the group who went in fasted and fed after on training or competition day outperformed every single person who was actually fed, because now that they were fed going into the race, they store more of that energy. So it'd be like, if you were just trying to do a long distance drive and you kept driving a car on half empty versus the car that was always full, it's always going to go further. But then the body's adaptation or response in this car analogy is basically your car is like, hey, we got to go really far, so you put a bigger gas tank in it. And then you fill it up before the race. So now you have like a 30 or 15-gallon gas tank versus a 30-gallon gas tank. When both are full, 30 gallons is always going to go further. So that was kind of the angle I took, was just to say in the individual session, no, it's not going to be better if your goal is to get that. But in the long term, you are going to get better at that. And then just one other hot topic on that I found interesting is that in ultra endurance sports, women generally outperform men in ultra endurance, like triathletes and things like that. And one of the reasons why is
because we're better.
Well, it goes back to, it ties with the like depleted state. they're usually able to go longer, further. And they're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, but a lot of it they think is because when your body gets that depleted state, you start to release a lot of endorphins and the body's ability just to ignore pain. And in general, what they think is it has to relate to women's ability to tolerate childbirth and the pain that's in that, and their ability to ignore pain and just keep pushing themselves. Yeah, in general,
Ryan.
yeah. So that's
Ryan behind me.
that's kind of one of the prevailing concepts right now.
Ryan behind me goes, he goes, it's their ability to complain.
And so they're dealing with empty all the time, and so those empty complaints just they're so used to it.
Yeah. So
No logic.
so that was another thing I found cool in school. Cool in school.
It's very cool, Alec.
Yeah.
We are pretty cool.
Is that part of, and I guess the takeaway from that is like when you go that far, you push yourself to that limit, it becomes a mental battle, a mind game at that point. Is when are you going to stop? If you want to get like David Goggins about it, you can get David Goggins about it. Conditioning sessions. So like here's some samples. 30 minutes at 65. So like I said, 60 to 75%. That's like medium. Then you could do like moderate intensity where you hop on the bike for 15 seconds, rest for 45, every minute on the minute kind of stuff. And then you have like more of your high intensity stuff. So like I say, like zone 3 is 70 to 80%. And that's not necessarily conversational all the time. So that's impressive. Oh, sweet. So they did do that. See? So same day scheduling, strength first, conditioning second. Strength while fresh, followed by conditioning. And this is ideal for time constraints. So like I was saying, like if you don't have the time to go for a 30, 45-minute run, just do like 10, 15 minutes after strength training. And then separate schedule. You're just going to get greater recovery. So you're going to be able to push yourself a little bit further. So that's kind of the balance is if you have the time for it, separate them. If you don't, you can still do both and it won't take away. Just do the conditioning second. Short sprints, low intensity on recovery days, and then, aerobic work. So basically everything I said. Recovery science. Ooh, cool. So it's like general adaptation syndrome kind of stuff. You stress your body, then your fitness goes down. So that's why you got to recover. So you get back to a baseline, and then you'll get what's called super compensation, where your body adapts and your baseline raises. And if you're not recovering, you're never going to get that response back up. So you're just going to keep going down. You're going to keep going down. You're going to keep going down. And then eventually you're going to hit what's called the eustress distress border, which basically just means once you push that, now you're opening the door for injury or just total burnout. You'll just start not sleeping well. You're going to feel more fatigued and exhausted all the time. And if you keep pushing through that, then that's probably it, overtraining or injury. So once again, recovery is important.
Can attest that is important.
Parasympathetic, that's just rest and digest. Heart rate variability, muscle tissue repair. Okay. So these are just kind of like the physiological processes that drive recovery. So like another way to measure recovery, and this is another thing they're looking at, goes back to like how quickly your heart rate can go back to normal after a session. So they're actually finding now that that's a better marker of your overall cardiovascular fitness than just your heart rate max, your resting heart rate. So they'll actually look at the HRV, which if you have like a Whoop is one of those straps that monitors HRV. That's like one of the main things it looks at, and that's what integrates into your recovery score. So as your HRV gets better, or your ability to recover between sets, your recovery will get better. Muscle tissue, protein synthesis, things like that, glycogen. Okay. Yeah, that kind of goes to what I was saying with like the fasting study is glycogen replenishment because you're depleting your stores. Your body's going to restore those stores better. So in certain instances, training fasted can improve that process a little bit faster. Monitoring. So like I just said, HRV is one thing you can monitor. Resting heart rate and sleep quality. That's another one that Whoop uses. Is it looks at your resting heart rate. So it's cool when I've done that. Like I've noticed, like if you like eat a lot of sugar, if I eat a lot of sugar before bed, or I have alcohol before bed, that resting heart rate number goes up at night, and it's because your body's still trying to burn that off at night, and then I feel like crap the next day. So it's just cool seeing those numbers, and then actually correlating that with how you feel, and then seeing like, oh, and then the Whoop tells you recovered 30% last night, even though you got 8 hours of sleep. So it relates back to it's not just how you sleep, it's also like what you do around sleep, how you feed yourself throughout the day. And then there's other things, you could look at, RPE, and then that kind of ties together with how you're recovering. Is if you're noticing like I can't do as much, I'm more tired more often, things like that, then maybe it's like, okay, maybe I need to add a little bit more cardio. Maybe I need to change the way I eat a little bit. Maybe I need to look at my sleep a little bit. Or maybe I just need to take a day off every once in a while. So all things that correlate with recovery.
What's day off? Can explain to me what day off means?
A full day of rest. Just a day off from at least once a week, like training wise. Like so, like that. Day off in my head too doesn't mean like just sit on the couch all day. Like I would still go to the gym and just make it like go walk on the treadmill, go roll out, just do mobility work. Or even for like my mom, like I'll tell her like just do stuff around the house, like cleaning around the house, things like that. That's still recovery. It's low intensity cardio. Because she gets too caught up in like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to work around other people, and then she'll just hang out and watch TV all day. So then I'm like, well, start small. You can walk around the neighborhood, things like that.
I'll work on it.
Things like that.
I'm not gonna clean the house.
So active recovery kind of is literally what I just said. It's active, but it's low intensity enough to elicit recovery. Foam rolling, massaging, mobility work, sleep hygiene. I got one of these ads on Amazon about like the green noise stuff. I tried it last night. It actually kind of works.
Oh yeah, there's like brown noise, green noise.
Yeah, so it's like one of those little like there's like a little green wavy thing, and it was like quiets your brain. And I was like, I gotta see that. And then I put it on, and I sat there, and I was like trying to think of thoughts, and I wasn't really thinking much. I'm like, okay, it kind of does work. So then I put it on, and then I was like, it just sounds like water running through a pipe is what I related it to. But then I thought back when I was a kid, whenever somebody would turn on the shower, I wouldn't want to get up. I just want to go back to sleep because I just love the sound of running water. So that's why I sleep well in the rain. I love the sound of rain. And I was like, oh, maybe that's all it is. So yeah, that was just a quick little aside.
That was a great story.
Thanks. Breathing techniques. You guys know who Wim Hof is?
What?
Wim Hof is
Wim Hof.
He's a guy. Yeah, that's his name.
No.
So he popularized his own breathing method called the Wim Hof technique. And it's actually pretty insane. So basically he's this guy, let's call him an eccentric personality who growing up, he was like, I'm just trying to find his equilibrium or whatever. And so he went and tried a little bit of everything. He lived with Buddhist monks for a while. He did ultra endurance sports. He did strength training. He did a little bit of everything. And then he kind of put that all together and said it all comes back to the breath and controlling your breathing. So basically his breathing method, it's if I remember correctly, it's 20 fast, full breaths followed by a breath hold, 3 rounds of that. And in one session, when you're doing the breath hold, you might be able to do a minute. By the end of one session, you'll be able to increase your breath hold time by a minute. So I've done it. I've been able to hold my breath for up to almost 5 minutes in his techniques. He's mastered it. So he's done a underwater, under a frozen lake. I want to say he was under there for almost an hour without
Are you
coming up
serious?
for water. Yeah. He's climbed up, I think it's the Himalayas. He's climbed up some mountain up to a crazy elevation, barefoot with no shirt, and just climbed it. They've also studied him at Stanford, where they injected him with endotoxin, because he also does a lot of cold plunging. It's that's part of his process. He combines cold plunging with his breathing. So I would do that. I'd get the cold plunge, and I would do the breathing method. They injected him with endotoxin, which is basically just a blood infection. And he was able to kill the infection before it actually caused any sickness. They was all studied at Stanford that everything he controlled his body temperature. It didn't go up more than a degree, and he killed the infection. It was just I don't know how he does it.
Just by breathing?
Huh?
By his breathing?
Well, because part of his process with his breathing is it gets into the basal part of your brain, and I guess has this capacity to. I don't think he's actually doing it himself. Like he just thinks about it and it happens. It's because what that heart rate and that breathing technique gets into is it provides your body with a lot of oxygen combined with the stress of an illness. He's upregulating his immune system in that instance. So
That's very interesting.
It is very interesting. Wim Hof, Wimhoff, and you could type in endotoxin, ENDOTOXIN, Stanford study.
I honestly
and he's
thought
like in
when you
a
were
tube
saying,
with all the cables on. Huh?
I honestly thought when you were saying his name that it was like an acronym for something.
No, he's like some like Norway, Swedish, somewhere up there guy.
Some white guy.
But he does his videos. He has them on YouTube. So you can just type in Wim Hof guided breathing, and then he does it, and he's like, "All right, guys, get ready for the first round. You are doing amazing." That's what it sounds like. I'll play it in a second. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Does he have anything about stress and anxiety?
Huh? Yeah, it helps.
I feel like he has to have something on stress and anxiety.
Yeah. He's one of those guys like it cures everything.
Yeah. Like Febreze.
Okay, evidence-based, quality sleep, proper hydration, nutrition, active recovery, compression, garments, and massage. Limited evidence are like cryotherapy, infrared saunas.
Ryan, massage is on this list.
It's not useless. It's not as well researched, but there's like if you want to get good research on it, I would go to Andrew Huberman. He has all the protocols on it, or what's her name?
I'm just trying to get a massage, Alec.
What's her name? PhD. Blah, blah, blah. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's also well versed. She gives a lot of tips on like infrared sauna. So basically, with like sauna, on the topic of sauna, there's dry heat, which are usually hotter, and then infrared, which are usually cooler. In general, it's based on the heat. In general, the hotter it is, the less you need to be in there. The cooler it is, the longer you need to be in there. So like hot saunas, you can think 10 to 15 minutes. Infrared, you can think 20 to 30 minutes. And then the difference between the hot and the infrared heats you up from the inside out because the infrared gets into your cells. Hot saunas heat you up from the outside in.
Oh.
So that's kind of the difference between the two. Down regulation, breath work, cool scheduling. Oh, here's kind of what I was saying exactly. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, strength and conditioning. Wednesday, Saturday, more like zone 2, zone 1 cardio, and then a complete rest day.
It's funny. That's like exactly what I do personally.
Yeah. Andrew Huberman also has
I rest. Sometimes I even take Wednesdays off completely.
Yeah.
And I lift Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I do a conditioning on Saturday and Sundays off completely.
Yeah. Yep. Case study. Okay, we've done case studies already. Okay. Putting it all together. A lot of this I just kind of okay. So let me get the Wim Hof guy on. All right, guys.
Wim Hof.
Are you ready? Nosferatu.
Not the private browsing page.
Wim Hof breathing. It's part of my identity theft stuff.
Oh.
I keep everything off.
That's actually very smart.
So this is him. See if there's audio. Oh, this this is Domino's. All right, guys. Lie down, sit down.
Ooh, I'm lying down. Step
Relax.
1. Yes.
Let's go. All right, so try it. So you got to close your eyes, arms out. I'm going to do it too.
Breathe in.
So like full breaths.
Breathe in. Breathe
Go with the flow.
In,
Out.
in,
I do. I've listened to it so many times.
in, into the belly, into
To the chest, and let's go.
like a wave. Make it circular. Fully in,
Fully out.
just keep on going. No pause between inhalation and
And
exhalation.
exhalation.
And more. Fully in, let it go. Five more. Let's give it all we got. Last one. Fully in, and let go. All right. 1 minute.
Now don't breathe in.
From now,
Hold your breath without breathing back in.
be in this moment.
Trying to hold for a
Let
minute.
the body do what the body is capable
Of doing.
Be aware of your heart.
Slow
Slow it down. And just be this moment. Let that relaxation spread down to your toes, into your fingertips, to the base of your neck and head. You are almost there. Do you want to prolong your breath hold? Pause the video now and continue when you feel the urge to breathe.
All
Okay.
right.
Recovery breath in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now full
Take a
deep breath.
breath in.
And then
And hold
hold
for
it.
15 seconds.
Now hold it.
Exhale in 3, 2, 1. Let it go.
Now if you want to do it, it's going to
Round
repeat
number
again.
2.
This round, you're going to try and do a minute 20.
I don't think I've ever held my breath for a minute before.
So if you did it again right now, if you did
It went
it,
down, that's why. Yeah.
if you did it again, round 2 would be a minute 20, and then I think if you did it again, round 3 would be a minute 30 or minute 40. And then
round 5, you're a mermaid.
well, you could do up to 5 rounds, but usually I would just do the 3. The 3 I think is a 12-minute video, so that's why I would sit in the ice bath for 12 minutes. I do that because it also helps me time it and it gets me to focus on something. That's also part of why he does the breathing in the ice bath. It lets you focus on something other than the cold. And actually, when I started doing it, like when I would do ice baths, I'd just be in there shivering. And then when I start doing the breathing, I don't shiver at all. And part of it's because you're going through the breath, and that's part of your body's response to cold is you want to tense up and shiver, and you hold your breath. But when you get into that breathing, it allows you to avoid all of that. And then on that note, too, on ice baths and shivering, there's kind of different purposes. If you want to shivering does have some benefits. It can elicit your what's called endoshock proteins, which are basically your cold sensors, and they upregulate energy expenditure. So that shivering can help with expenditure. But if you don't want to shiver and you want to be in there for longer to get more of like the cold anti-inflammatory benefits or just the mental resiliency, that's where you want to fight the shivering. So shiver if you want to burn more calories. Don't shiver if you want to push yourself mentally and get a little bit more cold therapy. But yeah, that's the Wim Hof breathing. And like I said, like by the second or third day I was doing this, my breath hold time got up to 3+ minutes. And then what's interesting too is by that third round in that breath hold, because basically what you're doing is you're blowing off CO2 in that breath. So basically you're really lowering your body's CO2 level. And that's ultimately the marker of like why you need to take another breath, why you can't hold your breath for long, is it's not because you're running out of oxygen, it's because your body has too much CO2 built in it. So that's basically the 30 breaths is just blowing off CO2. That's also a training technique runners will use. They'll do a lot of quick, rapid breaths before they do their sprint because they're lowering their body's level of CO2. And then that way they can run harder, faster because they build up that CO2. So that's really what I think is more the physiology behind it and why you're able to increase the breath hold is you're just lowering your body's CO2 level. And then the other cool thing in doing that was it gives you like a weird high almost. Like towards the end, like when you're laying there for 3-4 minutes without breath holding, you kind of dissociate from your body a little bit. It's weird. Like you get all tingly, and then because you're in a state you're not normally in. So I found that interesting.
That actually is very interesting.
Yeah.
That's called suffocation.
Yeah. All right, guys.
And then halfway through the holding the breath, I can see you like
Mouthing. Mm-hmm. Well, because I like that was my usual Sunday routine. I would do the ice bath, and then if I actually had a cold plunge, I didn't have to go buy ice all the time and fill up like a tub or the bin that I sit in. I just have a giant storage bin that I just sit in. So I'm like this in it. It'd be very interesting.
I know. You just does this, but like more excited.
Well, I get crazy sometimes.